Senator Singh.
I rise to speak about the extraordinary story of a young Tasmanian woman who was sacked by Cricket Australia because of her advocacy for women's health. In January this year, Will Hodgman's Conservative Liberal government let the only Tasmanian abortion clinic close. That meant Tasmanian women who made the difficult decision to seek a legal abortion were forced to travel to Melbourne to have a termination. Ms Williamson was one of the first women to have to make that trip, which she did at her own expense, costing her thousands of dollars and leaving her family behind. In her own words, she has expressed how she felt, and I quote, "I wouldn't have had to do this if abortion was accessible in Tasmania. On my way home on the plane, I was so upset I decided I couldn't stay silent about this injustice. I took to Twitter on a personal account, describing the turmoil I went through as a disgrace. Then, because I spoke up for women across Tasmania, Cricket Australia fired me. Is this Australia? Is this 2018? So frustrated and upset, she made on Twitter some criticism of the Hodgman government's disgraceful and sluggish response to the lack of abortion services, including its rejection of a motion to re-establish those services through public hospitals. A senior staffer of the Hodgman government, whether of her own volition or following a direction, used a fake identity to send screenshots of Ms Williamson's tweets to Cricket Australia. Just days after an appointment with Michael Ferguson, the Health Minister, to privately discuss her experience, Angela's tweets were examined, her employer was alerted, her private health information was disclosed, and she was fired. At the end of June, 2 weeks after being the beneficiary of a $240,000 grant from the Hodgman government, negotiated by Ms Williamson in her role as Cricket Australia's Government Relations and Infrastructure Manager in Tasmania, Cricket Australia sacked Ms Williamson. Ultimately, Angela Williamson's offensive comments amounted to advocacy for women's health. No due process, no appeal, no review, sacked. As John Birmingham pointed out, Cricket Australia had no legal authority to decide what makes a comment offensive, and it has never even tried to explain how Williamson contravened any written policy of her employer. Angela was sacked for having an opinion that had nothing to do with her job. Ms Williamson had rightly taken Cricket Australia to the Fair Work Commission to seek restitution for her unfair dismissal, and I hope the outcome will disclose the truth of this shocking saga. Both the role of the Hodgman government and its Conservative Health Minister in this abuse of power should not be ignored. It is well known that Michael Ferguson has very conservative views on women's health, and it's a fair question to ask if his actions have been motivated by that ideology. Ms Williamson campaigned for women's health and called out poor government decision-making for all Tasmanian women and girls. Angela knows she is not alone in this fight,
Senator
and like
Singh,
so many people, I stand with Angela.